Joe, let's continue here. I know that we wanted to get to the University of Michigan. You have Michigan at 9. I don't agree with you. I got Michigan at 4. Why is there such a massive separation? What is the win total for Michigan, and what's the over-under on them to win the conference in the Big Ten?
Their win total on FanDuel is 9.5. Their odds to win the conference plus 1,000. So there's a pretty big gap between them and Oregon on FanDuel. Okay, here's my thing. Like, I think that they're going to be a lot more dynamic offensively with an actual quarterback in Bryce Underwood. I really like Justice Haynes. I think that he is a great, talented, underrated running back that didn't get enough chances to shine in Alabama. But when you're losing Mason Graham, Will Johnson, and Colston Loveland, and also Josiah Stewart, you're replacing a lot defensively when the backbone of your team's success was your defense. I know that you stood up and dominated Alabama the way that you did, just on the lines of scrimmage, and that should be a little bit of enough of a taste of like, hey, look what we can do without the big name guys, without the first rounders.
Mm-hmm.
To feel that they're going to win and to finish that highly, I think that this is like a 7-8 win football team. How often do we see true freshman quarterbacks step in and lead a team to 9 wins? That's where I won't go. I think Bryce Underwood's going to be special, but I can't go that far to think that this team is a 9-win football team or more just because they have an easy schedule. Freshman mistakes will step in just like it happened with DJ Lagway, just like it happened with Dylan Raiola.
Difference with DJ Lagway is out of the 6 games that he played there at the end, 5 of them were ranked. Not only just was it Florida State was the only one that's not. I mean, I agree. I agree with you on the freshman mistakes are coming, and everybody needs to be patient. The issue I have and take with that is there's no Penn State on this schedule. There's no Oregon on the schedule. Joe, you're talking about 4 losses, and where do they come? I mean, again, we're talking about going to Nebraska. I get that. Going to USC, I understand that. But there also comes a point in time where there are some 50-50 games in there for me. I look at schedules like Indiana. In the conference, it ain't really nice for you at the current moment. You got some big teams that you got to play in there. By the way, you don't have Indiana either. If you are Michigan, the schedule is so favorable for me at the current moment that, Joe, I feel like I saw a buy-in of a team for what it's worth that just went into a bowl game and went into the last regular season game of the season with Will Johnson was out. Jeremiah Smith and them got nothing going. Will Johnson was out, and they couldn't do anything. I think it's a mentality thing for me. I think they're one of the toughest teams in the conference. I really disagree
with that. I don't disagree with that.
And to be real with you, I understand the mistakes are coming. I get all of that. I understand it all, and he's going to make them. This offense is a little bit different. And here's the thing that I know. If they can get to 8 wins with a walk-on, they can get to 9 wins with a 5-star. So it's not like we're separating them at a high level. We're talking about a win. A win. There is no Texas on this schedule. It's Oklahoma, which, by the way, we don't know what Oklahoma's going to be. I do like John Mateer, Jalen Ott, and the guys. But, again, I'm just getting to a place where, Joe, it's Ohio State at the end of the year.
Okay. Here's my thing, though. And you actually kind of highlighted the 4 games that I project that they're going to lose. The comment that you made about the quarterback difference is true. But to reiterate here, the problem is they were able to lean aggressively on their defense. They were able to lean aggressively on their run game. But more specifically, their defense. You're losing a first-round tight end also on offense in Colston Loveland, who's banged up at times last year, but not having – I didn't even bring up Kenneth Grant. Shit, I didn't even bring up Kenneth Grant. Yeah, they lost 2 of the most gifted defensive tackle prospects that we've had in the last 5 years. Both those guys were freakish athletes, and were so disruptive the minute that they started to contribute for Michigan. I'm not saying that this group is a bunch of scrubs, but when you go from blue chip first round talent to good football players, there's going to be a little bit of a drop off. I'm not saying you get ran the hell over, but I think that when you don't have that crazy level of unblockable dudes in the middle of your defense, there is going to be a game here or there that you end up losing because they end up dicing you up on the back end. And there's also, again, no Will Johnson, who I understand missed time last year, but you don't have the freakishly athletic, tall, long, and instinctive 6'2" corner that's picking off everything that's thrown in his direction.
They beat Alabama, which everybody has in the playoff, with all the guys that they have returning, and Davis Warren went 9 for 12 with 73 yards.
I get it. That evidence is against me. I get that.
They also are bringing back dudes defensively who, when you look at them, like I look at what they did in the replacement of that. Okay, I get what you're saying. It's a lot to overcome. You got so many dudes that sacked Jalen Milroe that are back, and Joe, they got after him for 6 sacks. I mean, you can't look at the guys that started in that bowl game against, and then look at Alabama and say, well, hey, all this offensive linemen are returning. They got their shit pushed in by Michigan, but you know what? They just got so much to replace. You can't be high on – I'm not saying you, but you can't be high on Bama and then look at Michigan and say, well, it meant nothing.
Wait, but Bam – because Bama's bringing back a lot of those guys that were there last year, and they're a much more talented core. They just didn't play well in spurts. That was an example of a game where they weren't locked in and they weren't focused. That was the takeaway for me, that they didn't show up to compete.
Derek Moore gave Caden Proctor all he could want, and a lot of y'all in the draft world think he's a top 10 to 15 pick, I would assume. Maybe top 20, whatever it is.
Proctor? No, we're not there.
Okay.
Nobody has him that high.
Well, he's a preseason All-American, okay, for whatever that's worth. And you literally had last season a guy that is back at Michigan and Derek Moore tee off. Along the defensive line, you bring in Damon Payne and Trey Williams. Can they give you any level of production will be an interesting thing. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, I'm going to be an asshole for 2 seconds. You said that game didn't matter. At the end of the season, you said that Michigan-Alabama game didn't mean anything. And
well, hold on.
Something in this conversation.
Hold on. Y'all told me that it mattered. So if it did matter, then you can't be high on Bama then.
So you're agreeing that it did matter. So you're agreeing that
I don't think bowl games really matter in the grand scheme of things. But there's individual things that you can take out of bowl games. As an example, I got a first team All-American left tackle that was decided by everybody besides you and I. Then I have a defensive end outside linebacker that ate his ass alive, pause. But he did. Joe, he had 6 pressures in that game. Again, now I look at their schedule, okay? And in looking in that schedule, you're 8 wins a season ago, and I think Bryce Underwood can get you to 9.
I don't disagree with the logic. I can't get there because there's turnover. I don't think that the Alabama game is enough for me to feel good about this upcoming season.
It's not just
Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Ohio State.
It's not just Bama, but hold on. Joe, are they going to ride that momentum that they had at the end of the season into this upcoming year? Hold on. They didn't just knock off Bama. This same core that came back along their defensive line at edge took that shit to Ohio State too.
But they still had, I believe they had in that game, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Unless I'm misremembering, I believe they had those guys on the field. So that's a key
and difference. They still had Davis Warren. They won with Davis Warren. I'm getting a Davis Warren picture and putting him up behind me because
you won't. We had a super chat before we get out of here, by the way.
All right, a super chat. Stephen Light with a $10 super chat says Moore will be on a show cause for 2025.
I don't understand. Does Stephen know something that we don't?
He must.
I don't know what the show cause would be for.
Maybe illegally recruit or some illegal recruiting, or I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, but I don't know. A player can't get a show cause, can they?
I don't believe so. I think it's just coaches. I mean, he could be suspended indefinitely. I don't know if he can get a show cause. Oh,
Yeah,
he's talking about Moore, Sherrone Moore.
Oh shit. Oh, I thought it was Dante Moore. I'm a big dumb idiot. Yeah, no.
Sherrone Moore.
I don't think that he's going to be, because if that was going to the NCAA is stupid, but I don't think that they would drop the hammer right before the season. Am I crazy for thinking that?
I don't think they would either.
Because we would have heard something.
But here's the thing, before we get out of here, here's the thing that the world that you and I live is, and when we talk about football, I can't live in the future. I can't live on what ifs. If something else changes that's that big, then you and I change our opinion. I can't live in what if la la land.
Yeah.
I got to live in reality.
Right.
All right.
Right. Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat. Anything else? I guess we can't really get down the teams because I got to roll, but any other teams that stick out to you, I guess?